أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين بأبي أنت وأمي ونفسي يا أبا عبد الله، وأشهد لقد اقشعرت لدمائكم أظلة العرش مع أظلة الخلائق، وبكتكم السماء والأرض وسكان الجنان والبر والبحر. صلى الله عليك عدد ما في علم الله. لبيك داعي الله لبيك. إن كان لم يجبك بدني عند استغاثتك ولساني عند استنصارك، فقد أجابك قلبي وسمعي وبصري. سبحان ربنا إن كان وعد ربنا لمفعولا، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. قال الله عز وجل في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنني أنا الله لا إله إلا أنا فاعبدني وأقم الصلاة لذكري. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. عطر مجلسكم بذكر محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. And foremost, we need to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the opportunity to gather, remember the calamity of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. I repeat, as I said yesterday, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved Imam al-Hussein so much so that his messenger said, Husaynun minni wa ana min Husayn ahabba Allah man ahabba Husayna. Hussein is from me and I'm from Hussein. May Allah loves the one who loves Hussein. Salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. We thank the opportunity to gather for these nights and deliver talks on these precious nights. Muharram in itself is a very important month in Islamic law, such that we see that even before the mission of Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, fighting and all of that was forbidden. So it being of the 4 holy months in itself is a holy month. It is auspicious. Now with this event that occurred in the 60th year after the hijrah, after the migration of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it gave it a new flavor, for the lack of a better word. So it is a great opportunity for us to be gathering and having these majalis. Obviously, we wish they were in person rather than online, but today's topic, inshallah, will be establishing prayer. So when talking about establishing prayer, we'll first look at the verses of the Holy Quran that speaks about prayer, Salah in general, And then we'll look at the difference between just praying and establishing prayer. And then we'll look at a very interesting ruling concerning prayer and conclude, inshallah. When we look at the verses of the Holy Quran and they introduce Salah to us, most, if not all, mention Aqimus Salah wa Aqimus Salah. They mention that we should establish prayer, not just Salli or Sallu or pray. This may be, perhaps you have heard this many times. We have heard this many times, but in the dhikra, tanfa'ul mu'min. Remembrance or reminding benefits the believer. But the verses of the Holy Quran, they say establish prayer and not pray. Now, what difference does this make? What difference does this make in the prayer or just praying or establishing prayer? Now, when the Quran uses the word just pray, I'm saying just pray because I'm speaking in translation. When the Quran mentions the sallu or salli, depending on whether it's addressing plural or singular, sallu or salli, it is usually attached to something. Perhaps somebody has that question that what is Hussein saying now when, for example, there's a verse that says فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَارْ. It doesn't say فَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ وَانْحَارْ. Now, this is the thing. Usually when it gives the order فَصَلِّ only, or just the order to pray and not establish prayer, it's because it is attached to something. Pray and slaughter. إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَارْ. We have given you the great abundance, so pray for your Lord and slaughter. وَلَا تُصَلِّ عَلَى أَحَدٍ. When it speaks about the what's the word? When it speaks about the hypocrites and ordering the Holy Prophet not to pray upon them, it says وَلَا تُصَلِّ عَلَى أَحَدٍ مِنْهُمْ. So usually it is attached to something. So here a death occurred, and the person is a hypocrite. So لا تصلي على أحد منهم. Do not pray upon any of the hypocrites. You always attach to something. Even the verses that tell us about the times of prayer, both of them, Surah Hud, very important for you to note this down. Surah Hud, verse 114, and Surah Al-Isra, verse 78. So it's 11, 114, and 17, verse 78. Both these verses. Surah Hud, وَأَقَمِ الصَّلَاةَ طَرَفَيِ النَّهَارِ وَزُلْفًا مِنَ اللَّيْلِ. And establish prayers at the two edges of day, وَزُلْفًا مِنَ اللَّيْلِ, and at the ridge of the night. إِنَّ الْحَسَنَاتِ يُذْهِبْنَ السَّيِّئَاتِ ذَلِكَ ذِكْرَى لِلذَّاكِرِينَ. The verse continues. Indeed, good things expel the bad, good deeds expel bad deeds. The second verse, أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس إلى غسق الليل وقرآن الفجر إن قرآن الفجر كان مشهودا. Establish prayer at the sinking or the lowering of the sun. Until when? Until the edge of the day and until the edge of the night or the brink of the night. Qur'an al-Fajr, and at the true dawn, false dawn. That's a jurisprudential discussion, whereby we see that, for example, you'll see on the calendar, your calendar for the month of Ramadan is written there, Imsak. What does Imsak mean? Imsak, if you look at in Islamic law, is called Al-Fajrul Kadhib. Al-Fajrul Kadhib. We see that also in the Quran, where it speaks about وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ, and eat and drink until the white line is clear from the black line in the Holy Quran. So Al-Fajr al-Kadhib, just to get this out of the way, is for those of us living in rural areas or on the outsides of cities. It's clear we don't even need calendars, alhamdulillah. We don't even need alarms, or we have chickens to wake us up, walillahi alhamd. But if you look to the east where the sun rises, about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the season as well, before the true Fajr, there's a line that appears horizontally. That is called Al-Fajr al-Kadhib, the white line. Now, when that line spreads vertically and then spreads throughout the horizon, that is Al-Fajr al-Sadiq. That is the time for prayers. That is the time for Fajr Salah, Salat al-Subh. That is Qur'an al-Fajr. That is how you teleport. Now, in fact, for precaution, so that you don't mistakenly eat beyond the time you are permitted to, it is recommended when that horizontal line appears on the east, that is when you stop eating, about 10 to 15 minutes before the time of prayer. Recommended, not wajib. But that is Qur'an al-Fajr, the difference between the two, the Fajr al-Kadhib and the Fajr al-Sadiq. So we see that even in these verses that speak just about the times, I mean, it could have just said, وَصَلُّوا طَرَفَيِ النَّهَارِ وَزُلْفًا مِنَ اللَّيْلِ, and pray at the two edges of day and at the brink of night. أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس, could have just said صلي لدلوك الشمس, at that time pray. But why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasize in the Holy Quran, why does he emphasize this establishing of prayer? Now, the difference between just praying and establishing prayers is when you pray, you're just getting it done. You know, just tell the Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and so on and so forth. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, khalas intaha. That's it, finished. But when you establish prayers, it's when you live it. Understand the point? When you live the prayers, is that your prayers affect how you behave. Your prayers affect your life. The very famous saying by Sayyid Hadi is that do not make your prayers revolve around your life, rather make your life revolve around your prayers. I always mention this, that when you pray your Fajr, stay sinless from Fajr until Dhuhr. That's how you establish prayer. When you pray Dhuhr and Asr, stay sinless until Maghrib. That's how you establish prayer. When you pray Maghrib and Isha, stay sinless until, should I say, Salatul Layl or Fajr, either or. Stay sinless between the two. That is how you establish prayer. That is how prayer becomes part of your life. That's how you live your prayers, rather than just going through them and doing them and khalas. You establish your prayer. You live in the atmosphere and in the aura of your prayers. It is said that your prayers are not your. From the little that I've heard, a speaker mention this. He says that your prayers are not recorded and rewarded until the next prayer. So you pray your dhuhr until Asr. Your salah is not recorded. Your salah is not accepted until Asr. Now, if you perform a sin between dhuhr and Asr, then your dhuhr will not be accepted, or it will be rejected because of the deed that you committed. So that's how we live a salah. That is aqim salah. As the Holy Prophet says, it is the face of our religion. Now, the face of our religion should change how we are. An incident happened between a friend of mine and some elder. He's like, this guy, we are tandas, in this way. This guy, we are tandas, in this way. Very sensitive thing to say about an elder, of course, because elders are, well, yeah, but that's how it is. The person always prays, but the prayer does not affect them. So the prayer is just a chore, just like washing dishes. Get them done, pack them in the cupboard, khalas, wait for them to be dirty. The next day, wash them. That is not it. The other meaning of establishing prayers, also establishing prayers versus just praying, is just getting it done. Just removing the jurisprudential burden from yourself. Say, oof, you know what? I've prayed, khalas, intaha. But the other one, الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ, as the Qur'an says. Those who are in their prayers, what? Humble and sincere. So it is a matter of sincerity and concentration. One of my teachers, Sheikh Ali Qa'id al-Matari, said that the extent of your concentration in prayer is the extent of your reward. So if you are only concentrating for Allahu Akbar, Takbirat al-Ihram, that's the only part that will be rewarded. Change the way I viewed prayers ever since. So it's more about concentration, the concentration in your prayer. Look, when we talk about the niyyah, the intention of prayer, intention, it's not that when you stand at your musalla and now stand there before you do the takbiratul ihram, you say usalli salatul dhuhr, arba'a raka'at, qurbatan, Allahu Akbar. No. Intention means you should throughout the prayer know what you're doing. So if I come and stop you, I'll never stop you while praying. But if I come and stop you in the middle of your prayers and say, Unzan, Unzan, you should be able to tell me, you're disturbing me, I'm praying Salatul Dhuhr, which is 4 rakat, for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So keeping this thought or keeping this connection throughout the prayer, that is intention. Once you lose that at any moment in your prayer is invalid, jurisprudentially speaking. So that's jurisprudence, not even akhlaq, it's not even arfan. We haven't gotten there yet. We're just talking about fiqh. That when you lose the intention, your salah is bad, your salah is invalid, your prayers are invalid. It's about keeping the concentration throughout. Concentration, of course, doesn't mean now Imam Ali's Salatullah Wassalamu alayhi is another level. That's top level. That he doesn't even feel the arrow in his Achilles and on being pulled out. That's something else. It obviously does not mean that for most of us, but it means now when you're praying and somebody's watching TV, you shouldn't be, of course, out of respect, they should switch off the TV, but you shouldn't really be bothered. How many of us stay next to ovens or have our neighbors playing music? You can't go out and stop them. Hey, stop your music. No. Have that try to reach that level whereby even the music, the TV do not disturb you. Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam is also next level. He's praying in front of the door. People are coming in, walking out, coming in, walking out. Abu Hanifa wants to ask him a question. He says, why are you praying? It's makruh to pray in front of the door when people... He says that, look, the one I'm praying to is closer to me than that door. So I didn't see anyone walk in. Next level. We are not that powerful, but try at least to have that concentration. Try to train yourself to concentrate in your prayers such that you don't even need to learn the rules of doubts and fixing doubt in prayers. Try to reach that level at least, whereby you don't need to revise the rulings of doubt every now and then. Say, I was doubting whether I was in the third rak'ah. Try to reach that level at least. That is how we establish prayer, by living it and concentrating in it. An interesting ruling that there is that between iqama and takbiratul ihram, it is recommended to say a supplication. It is said that that's one of the times when the doors of the heavens di bulegileng, avulekile amasango. Yilo ithuba lokukhuluma nomveli nqangi. So you take a pause. Now, what do you do between iqama and takbiratul ihram? Don't just say la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. Iqama la ilaha illallah. And then you just say takbiratul ihram immediately. No, take a pause. Configure yourself. What are you doing? What are you getting yourself into? Give yourself that time to think, okay, what am I getting myself into? What am I doing now? Remember, for example, remember this narration I'm about to quote. It is said that the Holy Prophet and Imam Sajjad, alayhi salam, the time of Adhan. Now, the Prophet, it's quite paradoxical. He tells Bilal, arihna, meaning give us tranquility, free us, relieve us by the Adhan. As soon as Bilal starts the Adhan, his face goes pale. Imam Zain al-Abidin shivers at the time of Adhan. Both of them asked, why does your condition change now when it's time for prayer? He says that, you know that verse, both of them say, you know that verse that says, and we gave the responsibility to the mountains and they rejected, and then humans, and then mankind carried it. Well, this is that time. So try to remember the story every time between your iqama and your takbiratul ihram, and remember that is the time now whereby you are carrying the whole, let's push it far, you are carrying the whole universe on your shoulders whenever you are praying. So do a good job, at least do a good job in that. Configure yourself between the iqama and takbiratul ihram. There are several du'as that you can read, verses of Qur'an, inna salati wa nusuki, which means all my prayers, all my prayers and my deeds, wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen. Let me quickly find it here. Mamati. قل إن صلاتي, chapter, surah number 6, verse 162. قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين وبذلك أمرت وأنا من المسلمين. Say that indeed my prayers, my life, and everything is for the Lord of the universes. That's one. Or that dua in dua Abu Hamza Thumali, that excerpt, that short part. Or any other thing, istighfar. Some say sending salams to the Imam of the time, sending salams to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. All these things you can do. But one advice that I like that is quite practical is an advice that I learned from Sayyid Hadi al-Darisi, speaking about azm, speaking about determination. He says that even with your prayer, try to be determined in your prayer. You know that the place where you pray is called mihrab. It's a place for fighting. So when you stand there, address the devil, because he's going to try and fight you and disturb you in your prayers, bring out and brings this and bring that. Stand in your prayer and say, Ya shaitan, inni usalli. Oh devil, oh Satan, I'm about to pray. Don't come near me. At least that. Something. This is something to evade the disturbances in your prayer. Something very, very practical. You can even do that in your own language. When Satan ka rapela nano sanswing. You know, anything that between the adhan and the iqam, between the iqama and the takbiratul ihram, try to configure yourself and master your concentration. Try to master your concentration in the prayer so that you can get at least to Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah without any doubts, without any disturbance, without forgetting anything, without making any mistake. One other way to get concentration, I mentioned this a few years ago in Soweto, is by preparing your prayers, writing down your prayers. So you sit, okay, the adhan goes off, you take out your nice smartphone, and then you write, okay, in the first rak'ah, I'm going to recite Surah Al-Fatiha and Surah Al-Kawthar. In the second rak'ah, I'm going to recite Surah Al-Fatiha and Surah Al-Nasr. In the Qunut, I'm going to recite such and such a dua. And in the last sajda, I'm going to recite such and such a dua. Now, what does that do? As soon as you say Takbiratul Ihram, Allahu Akbar, your body, your mind is going to take over the prayer. It's going to be like autopilot. But your heart will be connected to the higher. In that way, you will be connected in your prayers, but then your body just going, your body going through it. Your body going through the prayer automatically with no jurisprudential mistakes, and your heart and mind being in that prayer. You will also avoid things like being in the second rak'ah and saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and you're like, Qul, and then now you're not sure because there are 4 Qul. Wallah, Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun, Qul a'udhu bi rabbil nas, Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq. Now you have to choose one of the 4 again. You see, to avoid that, if you can prepare your prayers on your soul, on your short, on the I'm not advertising for Samsung, but on your Samsung notes, and then you write there, I'm going to recite this in the first rak'ah, second rak'ah, qunut, last sajda, this and that. It will help you concentrate better in your prayers. In that way, you live in the atmosphere of your prayers, inshallah. So the matter is when it's more about concentration and living and having the effects and the aura, living in the aura of your prayers. Inshallah, in in lectures to come, we'll discuss the impact of our prayers or the ideal impact of our prayers on us. Inshallah. Last night I left without answering several questions, so I just want to cut this here so that if there are questions, I may answer them. And inshallah, tomorrow we'll start earlier and then we can also put the section on the poetry. Just that we need to emphasize this matter of the concentration in prayer. Affirm yourself in your prayers. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala khair khalqihi ajma'ina Muhammad. Let's recite the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on the deceased and to cure the diseased and to settle the uneased and send to them the reward of Surah Al-Fatiha before it's Salat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.